Well, we're not in the Gunners Club.
We're not in the Gunners Club today, but we're here, Suze, with a good friend of mine, Steve Douglas. Welcome.
Great friend, long-time friend.
We've known each other through the music world, and that's why you can see, well, you've got a bit of a studio in the background here.
Yeah, we never stop with the music, as you know. And in fact, that's why we didn't hear you knocking earlier, as we were deep.
No, we had the phone
I looked
going.
up and saw.
No, we heard it out in the street.
Okay, good.
But actually, we're here to talk about something quite different today.
Other
and
than
really,
music, yeah.
It's the state of vaping in Australia, and more particular, what the government is railroading through at the moment.
Yeah, it's a sad thing.
Now, you actually own a couple of vaping businesses, don't you?
We do. We were one of the first in Australia. We started basically 10 years ago. Next week, I got my first vape when my sister, who you met, she came to Tasmania when you were
That's
down.
right.
Susan came down and visited from the States, and I picked her up at the Tullamarine, and she hopped in the van, and she pulled out this little device and puffed on it and blew out a little cloud of vapor. And I said, "What is that?" And she said, "It's a vape. Don't you guys have vapes?" I said, "Not yet." And she said, "Steve, I haven't smoked for 2 years now." And we learned to smoke together as siblings, and sneaking dad cigarettes, going out in the woods. We got to go out to the fort and do something, have a cigarette. And I couldn't believe she hadn't smoked for 2 years. I said, "Let me have that thing." And I took a puff off of it and ordered one the next day from Vape King, which is a long-standing shop, unfortunately, getting ready to close as well. They're running out of stock. They sent me a little tiny Kanger EVOD for, I don't know, $30 or $40. I took my first puff on it and never smoked again for 10 years.
Now, Suze, although you don't own a shop, is that a similar story to you? Because you were a smoker.
I was at least a 2-packet a day man.
Yeah.
I never wanted to give up smoking. I enjoy
Well,
smoking.
that's why we did it.
End of story.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, look, we all know it's no good for you. Okay?
Yeah.
But
You start
do it.
you start feeling it when
Yeah.
you get up there.
But in the end, it was the price that was driving me out.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
See, I moved here from Virginia. When I moved here, cigarettes were $3 a pack. I went down to buy my first pack at Kohl's, and they told me back then they were like $20. Now they're $50.
Yeah.
And I said, "No, I just want one pack, not a carton." And they said, "That is one pack." And I went, "Oh, damn, I'm screwed."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to give up smoking. I enjoyed it too much. And to keep the price down, I then, you go on to that chop, because that was a whole lot cheaper.
I had done that.
Yeah. Where you
Horrible,
roll it all yourself.
horrible tasting stuff too.
And that was okay for a while, but really, you don't know, it was pretty cheap stuff.
Yep.
And then somebody I can't recall.
I know
Somebody
what
put on
happened.
vaping.
I know what happened is Andrew brought you a vape from us. You were one of our first customers, so I can tell you it was about April 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I bought some for Mum and Dad as well
And you did,
to
yes.
try and get them
Yep.
off the smoking.
Yep.
And when you started working out the price differential, that buying the unit,
Right.
which is a one-off unit,
Yep.
which, I don't know, $100 or something,
Yeah.
and then
70.
and then the liquid,
Yeah.
even when you add all that up, it was 1/10 of the cost
Easily.
of cigarettes.
Easily.
Oh, why didn't I know about it earlier?
Because it was a modern disruptive technology.
Yeah.
It came along. If people had known this back in World War II when they put cigarettes in everybody's rations,
Correct.
Then there'd be a lot more veterans alive today.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So really, it's only been in Australia for about 10 years
Yeah.
at most.
Yep.
And like you said, a very disruptive
Worldwide,
technology.
probably 15. It took a while, just like you guys got color TV 5 years later after everybody else. So.
But we did the right thing. We got the German system instead of the worse American system.
Right.
So we sidestepped that.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about the tobacco industry in Australia at the moment, and then we'll go on to really what is and what might have been with
Yeah.
vaping.
Well,
So-
currently it's a sad state of affairs. Basically, every time you turn on the news or pick up, the phone to look at news, there have been 54 fire bombings in Victoria alone of tobacconists due to these black market gang wars because of the huge amount of black market illegal tobacco, untaxed tobacco that's sold. It's a super lucrative business. There's, different ethnic gangs, bikies. Basically, there's billions of dollars in it. So
It's basically a turf war.
it is. It's a turf war.
Yeah.
So they're standing over these shops. So they'll go into a little shop in some suburb in Victoria and say, "You carry our stuff or else." And if they don't agree to, then it's the else.
So currently about 1 out of 10 Australians are smokers, and a report was recently done by a university in the last 2 weeks, which sort of dispelled who the typical smoker is in Australia.
Oh, that was mind-boggling because they've pegged us as the losers in the stigma attached.
That's right.
Smokers, they wanted to stigmatize us and say we were the unintelligent, the uneducated,
the unemployed and suffering mental health.
Now it is true that of those with mental health, because they self-medicate with nicotine, a higher percentage do smoke. However, the average Aussie smoker is not scum of the earth like they thought.
Well, essentially is typically male, 60%, employed, and really doesn't fit the model that they thought
No.
that he fit at all.
Yeah.
Well, let's face it, if you weren't employed, you wouldn't be able to afford to buy that.
Well, that's right.
That's the truth.
Look, talking
the
of
truth.
music, I went and saw Motley Crue in concert a couple of months ago.
Oh, wow.
And Tommy Lee, he went and he
Oh,
bought
I heard this
six packs of
news
Marlboro
item.
cigarettes, and he tweeted with a big emoji of a thumbs up, as in an up yours emoji.
yeah.
Just went to 7-Eleven in South Bank, was stung about $250
Yeah.
for 6 packs
Yeah.
of Marlboro. He got, actually it was 4 packs.
Yeah.
He got the shock of his life for it.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, in Australia, we do pay the highest rate of tax in the world. It's 77% is a direct tax that we pay.
And
for-
indirectly, the Australian government is the largest profiter of tobacco in the world. Philip Morris makes about Philip Morris International, worldwide, makes about 6 billion in profits every year, 6.7, something like that, last year. The Australian government, it's down now because of vaping and because of black market tobacco, but they still make twice that, 12.5 billion per year on the sales of tobacco. That makes them tobacco merchants.
I agree, to the amount of 3% of their budget per year.
Right.
But imagine how much more they could be earning if the prices are actually a little bit more reasonable for cigarette products.
There's this thing called elasticity in taxes, and they've broken that rubber band. They've gone way beyond that, which has created that black market. I was speaking with, I won't name him, but a very well-placed shadow minister about the economics of it all just recently, and we were talking about that elasticity, and he agreed that it has gone too far, so now it's a point of diminishing returns for them. If they hadn't gotten so greedy, then it would have been just fine, it would have ticked along. The other thing that we presented to him, a report put together by an economist, a qualified, authoritative economist, was the simple fact that based on the sales of legal, legitimate vapes, like we sell and about 200 other shops in Australia sell, not your nicotine disposables and stuff, just your normal refillable, get an adult office cigarettes kind of vape. All those 200 stores' income taxed at a very reasonable, not a 97%, but an elastic tax of 20%, which consumers would gladly pay because it's 20% more than that 1/10 of the price.
Correct.
Would result in taxes of $1.2 billion for the government. And that's something that the government can sell. You know, that goes a long way.
So it boggles the mind then. We understand that they want the income. They need the income.
Well, yeah, to
Because
run a
the way-
country, you have to run a country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need the income. So, okay, let's totally outlaw cigarettes. As in, wipe it off. As in, it is now totally illegal to have, possess, sell, barter, anything with cigarettes.
Great
And
idea,
bring
but
this up
our health
and tax
minister,
it.
our health minister though says we can't do that because it's too ingrained in our culture. I understand that. Alcohol, far more deadly than any of them. Yet it's something people enjoy and have a right to enjoy as an adult. You hopefully enjoy it in the right way and try not to
In
cause harm.
moderation.
And try not to cause harm. However, it's very ingrained in the Aussie culture. They never ever, if a politician said, I'm getting rid of alcohol, he might as well just put a gun to his head. He's gone, you know. What I can't understand is how they can't get their head around it, that it's product substitution. It's taking a deadly product, replacing it with a far safer product, and I don't care how much they spent $768 million last year bashing vaping to make their platform sellable. So there's people out there that get this message that say it's as bad as smoking. Worldwide, every single valid peer-reviewed study shows it to be 95% or more safer.
Yes.
I mean, even 1% of the harm. And why not take a deadly product, replace it with a safer product? That's what you do with seatbelts. That's what you do with, you know, bike helmets.
Well, what another option be to follow the New Zealand model, where effectively what they're doing is phasing out cigarettes. So essentially, they're the second most expensive country on earth to buy cigarettes.
Right.
Australia #1.
Right.
What they're looking at doing in the next few years is reducing the number of outlets that sell tobacco products by 90%. And secondly,
Supporting vaping.
well, reducing as well the amount of tobacco which is in the cigarettes. So in fact, there's less compulsion for people to buy cigarettes.
The amount of nicotine in the cigarette?
That's right, yeah, nicotine.
Yeah, that's studies have shown that doesn't work that well because people actually smoke more to get the amount of nicotine the body wants. Therefore, they're consuming more carcinogens and tars.
Yep.
By the way,
Because,
carcinogens and tars, of which these have none,
yeah.
you know.
But the other thing that nicotine in and of itself is not harmful.
No.
It is addictive,
It
so I suppose that is the harm.
Well,
but it's not in and of itself.
Let's
harmful.
let's try to find the definition of addiction, though. Addiction always says it's something that you do over and over again compulsively that causes harm. So you have to have the harm element in there to be addictive. Otherwise, it's dependency, which I don't go without my coffee. Can you imagine if they said we're banning coffee because people get addicted to it? You don't really get addicted to it because it doesn't cause you much harm. You know, maybe a tiny little bit. They have shown that coffee can be bad for some
Increase your
people.
heart rate,
Yeah.
Steve, can you tell me what the recent legislative changes have been and what it means to your business?
It means we're out of business very soon. After a decade of helping 66,000 adult Australians, we don't sell to children. We card people we card anybody that looks as young as him.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. We don't sell to children, we sell to adults. 66,000 adults in Australia have quit smoking as a result of our efforts. That's phenomenal to me. Now, the reason I know they're after us is 66,000 people are not paying $40 a day or more in taxes. So that
really
adds,
puts it into a whole different
that adds
light
up
when
to
you put it
several
like that,
million
doesn't it?
dollars a day that we cost them. So they hate us. And I understand they hate us. I'm sorry we took your money. But, you know, as far as ethics are concerned, we save lives. And that's what's the most important thing to me.
So there were two. I understand there were two deadlines this year.
Yes.
There was January and
June
March.
1st, January 1st was a ban on the nicotine disposables, which we don't even sell. The only places that sell those are the tobacconists. They're illegal. They were already illegal. They banned an illegal product. So that would whoop-de-doo. They were already illegal. However, they were pervasive in the market because of the
policing it.
because the prescription model 2 years ago, when Greg Hunt, the other party, the liberals, put in a prescription model, it made hoops people had to jump through. 95% of our customers went, okay, fine, I'll get my prescription. I'll import my nicotine legally by the personal importation scheme, and I'll learn how to add it to, my e-liquid, and I'll stay off the ciggies. But there was 90% of the market said, that's too hard. I think I'll just go down to the tobacconist and buy a bootleg disposable. And don't get me wrong, we don't sell disposables. I didn't like it because of what it did to the market, but there's a place for them. The other day we set up an 88-year-old who's in the nursing home here. His hands aren't very good. He's functional, but you lose some of your motor skills. So for him to do that, his daughter goes down and does that for him. But for him, a disposable is absolutely great. It's something he can just picks up, puffs on. When it's done, he gets another one and go. And I think there is a place for those. Some of the mentally ill people, who can't really get their head around some of the techniques and some of the technology, for them it's great. However, that's what they banned January 1st. Now, we are, what is this, February now?
That's
February.
Right, at the cusp of March.
I get emails every single day from companies trying to sell me those. They're still landing by the container load. They've gone up in price because they did do a big seizure in South Australia. They crowed and did photo ops in front of it. And they got 150,000 disposable items. That was just a couple of neighborhoods in Adelaide's supply for 1 week. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And I've talked to people in border control. A good friend of mine used to work in that specific job. He's retired now. He said for every one they catch, there's 9 that get through. Now, they've increased border force scrutiny, and yeah, they're going to catch a few more. Diverting that border force scrutiny to find a vape means they're looking this way. Meanwhile, over here, containers of meth, fentanyl, whatever, or guns, things are coming right on in. Why take that much? They put an extra $50 million into border force. Why spend that much money on trying to catch the thing that doesn't really hurt anybody? And this.
So 1st of March, I think, is the next.
1st of March is the next one. 1st of March, which is right around the corner, we can no longer import any products to sell in our store, which basically cuts our throat. No Australian distributors can bring in stock. Nothing can come into the border that is vape related. And we're not talking about nicotine. We're talking about any single item that is vape related. These little cartridges, empty, a little piece of plastic, are going to be considered a tobacco product. This battery, which has no nicotine in it, which is just used to power the device, is going to be considered a tobacco
So
product.
the same as having a beer glass and assuming that it's full of beer.
Yeah, so if you ordered a beer stein, and branded with your favorite beer, it's like saying no glassware can be sold because it's used for or it's like saying you can't buy any syringes anymore because
It could be
it could be used for
drugs.
heroin.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you can't buy anything. It's absolutely insane. And it's been done with stroke of a pen without, anything else. He just got the governor general to sign it for him. He had really bad advice from people whose vested interests are to keep people smoking, tobacco control zealots.
I have a question for
Yeah.
you. This ban that
Yep,
they're
yep,
in the process of bringing in,
yep.
has this worked anywhere else in the world?
Never, ever for any substance. We go, the biggest one is Prohibition in America, alcohol prohibition, where that alone gave rise to the biggest crime syndicates in the world. And a lot of people made a lot of money, a lot of well-placed people made a lot of money off of it because they were willing to break the law. The bootleggers bringing rum up from the Caribbean, or the, Al Capone and his cronies running across
Canada.
from Canada, the Seagrams, group and all that kind of stuff. It has never worked.
Originally from Virginia.
Virginia, yeah. Which was the tobacco growing state.
Yeah, and they also had bootleggers in the mountains.
Oh, we have bootleggers everywhere in America. Yeah, still do. They make moonshine still, but it's not as pervasive because you can go buy some good whiskey at the store these days. But never has Prohibition worked. In the 30s when marijuana was made illegal to control the jazz musicians, basically, when, just to keep them where they could get a permit or not. For how long has that been? That's been like 70 years it was illegal. Do you think people smoked pot during those 70 years? But who handled the market? A black market, because there wasn't a legitimate. Now, marijuana is moving into a legitimate market, and there's huge, companies that you call the doctor, get a prescription, and it's sent to you in the mail, and it's all very legitimate and above board.
And the government is making a lot of tax on it.
And they will, and they'll continue to make more. They'll control it, to their advantage, but yet it's available. Vaping with nicotine is going to be unavailable on a regulated consumer market whatsoever as of some date shortly after March 1st.
So people stocking up, Steve?
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Are we talking big time?
Yeah, those that can afford it. I had a guy call, I think he was an engineer, and he said, all right, I've calculated how long it'll take to get a new government in and how much I will need to vape during that time. And he spent about $1,600, and he knows that until as long as labor's in, he's got his vaping supplies.
But there's no guarantee that the next government will change it.
Oh, no, there's not. And it's going to be hard to change. It's harder to roll back a law than it is to prevent that stupid law from being put in place in the first place. It'll take a lot to roll it back. And there is no guarantee. The liberals and the nationals and the liberal Democrats all state that they want a regulated market. The Greens are on the fence. They want it. They're for harm reduction in every other situation, but this one they haven't gotten their head around, mainly because their shadow health portfolio, Jordan Steelejohn, he is severely anti-tobacco, and he hasn't quite figured out this is not tobacco.
Although they do, they purport that the tobacco industry are the ones that are hugely financing the vape industry.
That's a lie. The vape industry has nothing to do with big tobacco, and they do say that every time. Every time Mark Butler gets on TV, he says, we're not going to allow big tobacco to do this to us again. In 10 years, 30,000 products we've stocked in our store, different products. Not a single one of those has anything to do with big tobacco. They're all independent companies that came up. In America, big tobacco did get its foot in with Juul, which was bought up by big tobacco. It wasn't originally. And of course, they spanked them and fined them, and they're still going. It was a great product. They said it was marketed to kids. Whether that's true or not is, for the judges to decide, I guess. But I can tell you this. The two things they say most about Australia is big tobacco's behind it. It's not. And that there's a kids epidemic. There's not. Yes, kids do vape, teens do vape. They have stopped smoking. So really, that's kind of a win. Kids are going to do risky behavior. Why not have that risky behavior a much less risk? That's it. And they exaggerate the figures. 12% of teens, these are government figures, have vaped in the last 30 days. That's probably, higher than we want it. Scaring
at that age, I was smoking.
Yeah, well, I was too. Scaring kids though with absolute BS is not the way to go about it. That's like the DARE program in America ages ago. The way to work with kids in that is to talk to them realistically about it and not try and scare the hell out of them by saying it's going to make you grow two heads or something like that. Because you have to be realistic. Kids are not stupid. Teens are not stupid. They have the internet these days. All they can go in, oh, the Cochrane report says it's 95% safer. It's cheaper. When I go to a party, I'm going to take a vape, not a cigarette.
Steve, what to you would the perfect industry look like for both vaping
A
and
regulated
tobacco in
industry.
Australia?
It's just simple. Licensed, regulated, specialist vape shops. Personally, I like having specialist vape shops that sell vapes and not tobacco. I would never sell tobacco. I couldn't sleep at night if I sold tobacco. That's a lot of people have said, well, since they're shutting down your vape shop, why not just turn it into a tobacconist? A, I don't want to get firebombed. B, I couldn't sleep at night. I'd rather save lives than kill people. It's just that simple. So a regulated industry, licensed, we'd be glad to pay a licensing fee. You have a directory, you send around people and check on them. See if send in an underage person to our shop. See if we sell to them. It won't happen. That's the way it should be. A less harmful alternative of vaping should be as easily accessible as that harmful alternative, at least, if not more so. And should be less tax, more accessibility. It saves lives that way. And, you're going to lose some tobacco taxes. Find another way to make it off of elastic tax on vapes. Make it off of the healthcare savings you're going to make over the course of time.
And people don't talk about that.
No, there's been a few studies, especially in the UK, where the government is giving away 1 million vapes to improve the health of their nation, where they sell vapes, have vape shops in hospitals, and where they just ban the disposable ones, which is, we'll see how that goes. That's fine, but they didn't ban it all. There's ways for people to quit smoking using a vape. The other thing is, the newest study that came out shows, and they deny this, they say over and over, there's no evidence that vaping helps you quit smoking. Then why did 82 million people find it easy to quit after trying everything else worldwide? A new study just came out that showed, absolutely, it was a valid study out of Switzerland and German combined, that said that vaping was 58% successful at keeping people off cigarettes. The next highest after that, which was gums and patches and stuff like that, was less than half as effective. Varenicline with a Champix, which is effective, however
gives you big side effects.
However has severe side effects.
Yep.
500 people have killed themselves on it.
Yep.
And they even say one of the major side effects is you'll have suicidal thoughts. Personally, I don't want to go there. I'd rather have my vanilla custard and puff away. But what was the question again? I'm sorry.
I think we've We've talked about what the ideal
what the
industry would look
ideal
like, and
market
essentially you
would
said
be.
it would be a regulated
Regulated
industry, which
consumer
would be
market.
separate, so tobacco products would be
Yes,
sold
a
separately to
specialist.
vapes. And what's your take on selling nicotine with?
Oh, it should
vape?
be. It should be.
together.
Absolutely. I mean, you can sell cigarettes, they have nicotine.
Mm-hmm.
You can sell tomatoes, they have nicotine. You can sell eggplants, they have nicotine. Nicotine's not the demon. As a personal situation, my dad experienced a bit of Parkinson's in his latest years, and when he was about 85, it started coming in. He died at 88, so he didn't have to, experience much of that. My mom had a bit of dementia at the end of her life. The number one prevention, absolutely, of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, any of those type of, what do you call them, neuro type diseases. The number one preventative, and this has been studied in universities, multiple universities across the world, is nicotine. So personally, I'm going to vape nicotine until I die. I've lowered it. I'll get a moderate amount. I've lowered it. And that's the great thing, is we can lower it. This pharmacy solution that Mr. Butler has is absolutely, positively doomed to fail.
So this is essentially, you have to go to a doctor.
You have to go to a
script.
You have to go to a doctor. You have to get a script. You have to buy a specific product from a company owned by an ex-health minister. Oh man, the Royal Commission would have a field day with that. I had 2 customers last week. Stacy can testify to this. Independently, both in their mid-60s, ladies, came in and said, "Can you help me?" And they pulled out, they had this pharmacy product that they're pushing. And I said, "Oh, yeah." And she said, "I was prescribed this by my doctor. It took 6 months to get a prescription and get a doctor's appointment. Then I finally got it. And it's horrible." And I said, "What's horrible about it?" She goes, "It spits out hot juice at me. It tastes nasty, and it makes my head spin. The pharmacy solution is 59 milligrams. I'm vaping right now at 3 milligrams of nicotine. So it's 20 times what I'm using, with no ability to titrate, to self reduce your dosage." Have you met Peter that works with us?
I don't know.
He works with us. Fellow that's worked with us, we got him. He was a customer. We got him off cigarettes, and he ended up working with us. He successfully lowered his nicotine over the last couple of years, bit by bit, by bit, by bit, till he got to 0. What he did is he had his wife add the nicotine. She lowered it, and she never told him when he got to 0. After he was on 0 for a month, she said, "You've been off nicotine now for a month." He goes, "What?" And he had not had a drop. It's something that you can do yourself, but not with a pharmacy solution. 59 milligrams. The device is, excuse the language, it's a piece of crap. Nothing in our store is as inferior as that product. I asked the ladies, "How much did you pay for this?" All up with the prescription, the doctor, the kit, and 2 days worth of pre-filled cartridges, $300.
Who's making the money on this?
300. This pharmaceutical, company who's partnered with Chemist Warehouse. They got 142 million shares to push it through their stores. The ex-health minister got a portion of shares to tout it and sell it to the current health minister. So it'll fail because, and I know this because vapors are picky. You probably know, I know myself, every single vapor needs a different kind of kit. That's why we carry thousands of products. Somebody needs a big direct to lung type device with a high wattage. Somebody else needs a little mouth to lung device at low wattage. Flavors are hugely important, and they're doing away with those. They're only going to have tobacco and mint flavor.
Mint, yeah.
That's like telling an alcoholic that when he goes to the store, he can only buy something whiskey
Gin or
flavored.
gin, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like tobacco flavors because it reminds me of those stinky days. Some people do, and to them, that's fine.
Now, Steve, unprepared, you've got 30 seconds to convince Australians why we need the vaping shops.
To save lives. I mean, it's that simple. It's that simple. There is a petition up at on the Parliament website. Maybe you guys could put a link on here. It's only been up for a week now. 21,000 people have already signed it. No other petition on the Parliament site has over 4,000. In fact, most have 75 to 100. It's and it's going up every day. It's
How long
the
has
Australian
this petition been running?
6 days. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, Redbridge did the consulting polling people. They did a poll of Australian citizens, adults, voters. I might add, voters, and they came to 88% support a regulated market. What if, they do these referendums, gay marriage, voice, things like that. What if there was a referendum on voting? 88% would say, let's have it. No other referendum came like that. I mean, they come and squeak through, they lose or squeak through by 2%. Governments are elected by 2 to 4 to 5%. 1.8 million votes are up at stake right now. That's the number of Australian adult vapers right now, 1.8 million. Those people, it may seem silly that that's a single issue voting thing with so many other issues at play, no matter which side of the political spectrum you're on. But vapers are passionate about their vape for the simple reason that they tried to quit so many times, and then all of a sudden they found something that worked and they felt better for it. I mean,
And now they're trying to take it away.
now they're trying to take it away. I'm 68 now, 58 I quit smoking with a vape. I feel far healthier now than I did 10 years ago. If I can keep that going, that reverse aging,
We could all do with a touch of that, I think.
Oh, yeah, more than
Absolutely.
Steve, we see your passion, and thank you so much for coming
Yeah.
on the show.
So basically, sign that petition. Call your representatives. I know Labor's not allowed to dissent. There is dissent within the party, but they can't speak up. Call your if they're opposed to the ban and they're supporting a regulated market, pat them on the back for it. If they're Labor and they are supporting this idiotic plan to that's going to drive people back to either cigarettes or the black market. I mean, 1.8 million people are not going to quit vaping overnight because they've discovered how much better it makes them feel.
Yeah.
And the price.
Of course.
Which you brought up before. Let's face it, these are not the best economic times with interest rates, with cost of living. It's a hard time for people. And, I tell you, support your local vape shop until they're gone. Probably July 1st, we'll all have to shut our doors. After that, it'll be the black market, and that's where it'll be. It'll be turned over to the hands of organized crime, which is a sad thing to see. I'm sure they're clapping their hands.
Yeah, exactly. They're rubbing their hands
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
We're about to make a whole lot of money.
We usually have happy, cheery endings in our programs, but
Well, here's the cheery ending: is no matter what the government does, they're not going to stop this technology. It will be pervasive. It will succeed. It will keep going. And sometime, 20 years down the line, 10 years down the line, 50 years down the line, somebody's going to look at it and go, I can't believe they tried to do that one day, that they did do that.
Yeah.
And people will come to their senses. The science is behind it. If you can understand the science and you can do the research, which is all out there, we have the internet these days, you can understand that it absolutely is one of the greatest inventions of modern times. And whether that's allowed to exist in Australia or not, we'll find out. That was some severe sociology, wasn't it?
But hey, the viewers need to hear it.
Yeah, they do.
The viewers want to hear it, and who better to pass that knowledge on than someone that's been in the game and knows what they're talking about.
It's been a struggle. It's been a struggle. You know, we did this purely from the point of wanting to share what I found. It's like if you found a nice new whiskey, and your mate said no whiskey, you say, have you tried that?
And you said there was no happy ending.
We'll catch you in the next one.